Good morning again. Shall we start? Okay, guys, is my voice clear? Is everything all right? Perfect. Okay, guys. So, okay, great. Okay, guys. So, regarding the assignment one, it's on LMS now. Please have a look, read it carefully. Um, we have covered till now just about the concept drift level 0. We will continue, of course, covering all the specs of the assignments, and since the due date will be 7th of September, which is week 8, and then from week 8 or week 7, I will release the assignment to work on. All right. So please, guys, I need to see you during the consultation time next week, not next week, next Friday. Okay. So please have a look, read it carefully, review the lecture notes, and then hopefully I can see you during the next consultation time, Friday, 9 to 12. At the same time, if you have any question after the lecture, of course, I will be happy to answer all your questions and doubts. Okay, right. So today we're gonna talk about lecture 5, system design, process description, and data dictionary. Okay. All right. So today we're gonna talk about the system design. We talked about the system planning. We talked about the system analysis. So today it's time to talk about the system design. Okay. All right. Let's move on. Okay. Process description tools, flowcharts. Okay, guys. So before we start talking about the system design and the main point that we will cover, during the system design, let me ask a question, please. Let's just kind of review or refresh our minds about what we talked last week. Can someone tell me what did we talk last week about? Okay, data flow diagram. Absolutely, data flow diagram. All right. So, what is it, the data flow diagram, Michael? Michelle, what is a data flow diagram? What is a data flow diagram? What do you think, guys? Absolutely correct. Okay. Well done. Well done, Michelle. So, a data flow diagram, it's a graphical technique. It's a graphical technique used to describe an information system. Absolutely correct. Okay. So, how many levels do we have with the data flow diagrams? How many levels do we have? 3 steps. Okay, what are these 3 steps? What are these 3 steps? Okay, context diagram level 0 and level 1, which is lower level, absolutely correct. It's one graphical technique you describe. Absolutely correct, Ali. Okay, so absolutely correct. So with a data flow diagram, okay, so there is a context diagram, there is a level 0, there is level 1, and we may have continuing just lower, okay, level 2, level 1, and so on. Okay, okay. with context diagram, what are the characteristics of context diagram? When we would say this is a context diagram, not level zero. If I give you a figure, okay? If I give you a figure or I give you data flow diagram, when would you say this is a context diagram? Or when you would say this is a level zero? How would you know this is a context diagram or a level zero? Beautiful, Michelle. Well done. With a context diagram, there's only one process, all right? So there's one process plus external entities that links to that process, all right? So the context diagram, it's only describe the information system. It's abstract level, describe the information system, the whole information system. Well done, Michelle. So what about if I want to have level
It is
zero?
true.
Exactly. So what if I want to have a level zero? What should I do? Absolutely correct. Yep. I break that one process down. So that means the context diagram, it's one single process linked with external entities. It depends on the case, it depends on the information system itself. All right. It linked and shows how the data move out between those entities and that single process. All right. Now, if I want to have more details about that information system, if I want to have more details about that sub processes inside that single process, what should I do? And of course, I need to break down that single process into another sub processes, all right, and then put all together. This is about the context diagram. Then I will have level zero. From level zero, if I need to have more details, if I need to have more information, if I need to know more about the sub processes inside that single process, I will break down process one or process two or process three that came from single process with from the context diagram. I will have then level one. All right. Okay. The question is, have more than one. Can we have level two or three or four with that flow diagram? Is that possible? Michelle, yes. Who else? Guys, is it possible to have more levels? Could be level. We said context diagram. We said level zero. We said level one. Can we have level two, three, four, five? Ali, yes. Okay, absolutely correct. So both Michelle and Ali, absolutely correct. We can have more levels, but it's not that common to have them, all right? The reason is it's because of the complexity. Imagine you have an information system, all right? You have a context diagram, you break down that single process into other sub-processes. So now we have context diagram, one single process, level zero, let's say three processes, one, two, three, all right? And you break down, now we have in level zero. Now you take that process one and you break it down into other sub processes. So you're gonna have 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. Now we are in level one. Now you took another process 1.1, you break it down into another sub processes. You're gonna have 1.1.1, 1.2, 1.1.3, and so on. All right. That now we are in level two. You break when you took one of these sub processes, you break it down into another sub processes, and so on. So can you see the complexity that you're gonna have? All right. It's not that it's possible. All right. Theoretically, it's of course it's possible to have level two. It's to have level three and so on. But it's not very common use with the data flow diagram. The reason for that, the complexity. Just imagine the complexity that you have. How many sub processes you have. Imagine you are working with a huge information system. Now the samples or the examples that you are taking, it's quite simple. Information system was two or three, four processes, but imagine you are working with a huge information system. All right, you have many processes, not just one, not two, three, or four. You have more than 50 processes. All right, if you break down if every single process into another sub processes, so imagine the complexity that you will have. So first of all, it's not will be not not easy to compare it with other models. All right, this is one reason. The second reason, it's not easy to be readable. All right, it's not easy to follow up with all the processes, with all the data flow and flow out between the models. All right. So theoretically, it's possible to have we can have other levels, but they are not common use. We are just most people, most the system analysts, they are just keep working till level one. This is the most convenient level. Otherwise, then if they continue dividing or if they continue having more levels, the complexity will be so high. Okay, guys, well done, well done. All right, so let's move on this topic. As we said, we today we're gonna talk about the flow chart. Today we're gonna talk about the process description tools, which is the flow chart, which is quite similar to a data flow diagram. All right, so imagine this diagram. All right, so can someone tell me which level this one? Is it context? Is it level zero? Is it level one? Okay, beautiful. It's level zero. Why it's level zero? Why it's level zero, guys? What a complete answer. Perfect answer. It's a perfect answer. Well done. Okay, so first of all, it's we have more than one process. All right, so these three processes came from one single process, which is a context diagram. The second thing, the most important point with data store, all right, with the context diagram, we don't have a data store, we don't have a database, all right? So two main things with the context diagram, one single process plus the external entities, and third, of course, the data flowing in, flowing out between those entities and that single process. This is about the context diagram. This level zero, level one, and so on came with external entities, came with data storage, came with what more than one single process. All right. So regarding this diagram, if the question was precisely how is an invoice created, all right. So now we are asking about the data create invoice. So this process is about creating invoices, all right, for the information system. So the question is, how is an invoice created? What are the steps? That means you think about the steps. All right. So now a flowchart can be used to describe detailed steps within a process. All right. So now we are asking about steps approach in a process. Now, if we compare, just imagine the flow chart with the data flow diagram. Data flow diagram, please just try to differentiate between the two. So the data flow diagram is a graphical technique used to describe the information system in terms of the number of processes, in terms of the external entities, is have been used in terms of the data storage, in terms of the data flowing in, flowing out between those entities with the processes. All right. So it's more about describing the information system. All right, describing the information system. Now, the flow chart, if I'm dealing now with the steps in a process. Now, it's more details about what are the steps inside each process. All right, can you see the difference? I'm dealing with the steps inside each process. Let's move on. Functional primitive process can be described using flowcharts. So flowchart is diagram that represent the steps within a process. All right, within a process. Okay. Now, as we discussed with the data flow diagram, we said there's a symbol that we're gonna use to represent the flow chart. Here with the flow chart, sorry, with the data flow diagram, with the flow chart, we are having the same thing. We have symbols we're gonna use to draw the flow chart. The first one is the oval symbol. This shape represents the start and the end, which means when you start drawing your flow chart, the first step and the last step, always we need to use this oval shape. All right, represent the start, represent the end of the flow chart, or represent the start and the end of any process we are describing using the flow chart. The second one, it's an arrow. All right, an arrow, it's a line, is a connector that shows the relationships between representative shapes. So it's more about, it's linked the previous step with the following one. It's more about connector. Now this is raise another question. So since we have talked about the data flow diagram and we are now talking about the flow chart, can someone tell me what's the difference in terms of the arrow? So look here. Here we have this arrow. Okay. So what is the difference between the arrows in the flow chart and the arrow in a data flow diagram? What's the difference? What is the difference, guys? Difference between the arrow with the data flow diagram and the arrow with the flow chart. Michelle, the flow chart arrow doesn't follow the data. All right, beautiful, Michelle. Well done. Well done. Look here, guys. When we talk about the flow chart, when we are talking about the flow chart, I'm not talking about the data. I'm talking about connecting the steps, right? It's more about connector. It's just a line. It's just a line, or it's a connector between the previous and the following step. All right. Now look to the arrow with the data flow diagram. The arrow represents what? Represent the data itself of the information system. Represent the data, how the data flowing in, flowing out between the processes and the external entities or the data stores. So it's not a connector. It's not the relationship. It's not about the relationship between the previous and the following. Okay, it shows how the data moving in, moving out inside the information system. All right, while this arrow with the flow chart is a connector between the previous step and the following step. Okay, guys, so just this is the differentiate. We need to differentiate between the arrows in two types: the flow chart and the flow diagram. All right, so the third one represent the input and output. So this shape we're gonna use it when we have input process or we need to print out something. We're gonna use parallelogram shape. Now the fourth one represent the process rectangle. Represent process or action. We're gonna use a rectangle shape. The last one is the diamond shape, indicate for any decision or on action, or it's more about decision, or we're gonna put it in this diamond shape. All right. Now, those four, five symbols we're gonna use, mostly when we're talking about the flow charts. Last thing about the flow chart, we're gonna have these two symbols. These two symbols, the first one represent a document. If you are describing a document, we're gonna use this one as well. If you're working on a database, we can use this symbol as well. All right. Now, if we when we're talking about the process, okay, so one of the process here, look to this shape, rectangle represent a process or action. All right. Now, with the flow chart, there's three types of control structures. The first one we call as a sequence. The second one we call as a selection. The third one is alteration or looping. The sequence, what do we mean by sequence? The sequence, it's quite simple, straightforward from the name. That means we have a sequence of processes, a sequence of action. All right. So this is the sequence. This is a
Is it nice
process.
out here being able to walk around without stuffing over things?
Yes, Josh. Do you have a question, Josh? Josh, do you hear me? Okay. The sequence, look to the first one. The first one represents a process or an action. And there is an arrow. It's linked with another process or action. Now, imagine there's an arrow of arrow linked to another process or action as well. So when we have a processes linked together or actions linked together, we call them a sequence of processes or a sequence of actions. All right. The second one we call, okay, before the second one, let's take this example. All right. Let's take this example about the sequence. Look at this flow chart. All right. The flow chart, the first step represents a prompt user to enter student ID, read student ID. Third one, share student record based on student ID, display student name and currently enrolled course. Right? So this is the flow chart. We can represent this flow chart as a Java code or any programming way. Right? Scanners input a new scanner system.in, system.out println. Now this is actually to read from Java, enter student ID. So now I'm reading student ID. This is for system int ID equal input dot next line. All right. Now search. Now of course the whole code search student record to obtain family name, first name, course code, and lastly display student name, first name, my family name, first name, and the course ID. All right. So you may have a flow chart. We can translate it to any code, any programming code. And the same thing, we may have the programming code. We can transfer it directly to flow charts. All right. So the flow chart is basically, let me tell you something. It's more about just it's a story by itself. The flow chart, you can say it's a story. How can you tell someone a story from the first step to the end? All right. It's more describing steps. The first step, the second step, the third step. Now, if you face such case, move to right. If you face such case, move to the left. And the last step, this is which is your objective, or this is what you need to do from the whole process. All right. So this is the main point of a flow chart, is describing the steps of a process or describing steps within a process. All right, let's move on. Selection. When we say selection, that means we are select something based on a decision, or we are making a decision. All right. So the second one, it's when we have this diamond shape. Diamond shape. There's always two outputs, yes or no. All right. Those yes or no means means true or false. All right. This diamond shape, we always use it when we want to make a decision. All right. We want to make a decision. That decision could be yes or no, or we can say could be true or false. Okay, so there's two directions. Yes, if the condition was true, no, if the condition was false. Let's have an example. Now, the decision is now I reached this step, all right? Now, the decision is if the total cost greater than 50,000, what? Display high cost project. Otherwise, display low cost project, all right? So I'm expecting before this step, do I have a pen here? I think yes. Now, before this step, all right? So before this step, what do we have? Before this step, now we have a process to calculate the total cost, right? So now here I'm expecting to have a details or a high steps or a processes to calculate the total cost. Now, once I reach this case, I found I need to know if the total cost that has been calculated before. If it's greater than 50,000, I will display a message. This message means display high cost projects. Otherwise, if the total cost was less than 50,000, I will display low cost projects. So this is my decision. All right, this is my the decision that I made. All right, so for this reason, I have used this diamond shape. Right? So I can't use the oval shape here. Why? Because this is not beginning a process or the end of the process. I can't use a rectangle shape, right? Because this is not a process. This is not an action. This is a decision. I need to make a decision here, and that decision could be yes or no, could be true or false, based on facts. These facts came from the previous steps. Now, can we translate this flowchart into another any programming code? Yes, we can. Now, when we say a decision, all right. So when we add decision, that means yes or no. Is exactly the same thing when we talk about the if statement. All right. So I believe you are familiar with the if statement in any programming language. All right. So if a statement, that means if a or if condition or if you are making a decision. Now, if total cost greater than 50,000, do something, or what? Print high cost project. Else, system dot print low cost project. Now this one, it's equivalent to what? To this flowchart. Flowchart, yes or no, based on the decision. Programming way, the same thing. If a statement, if the condition was true, print high cost project. If the condition was false, print low cost project. All right. Now this is about the diamond shape. Okay. Let's move on. Just give me a second, guys. How can I delete this one? Erase them. All right. All right. Okay. So, guys, any questions? Any questions about the sequence processes or the second one selection? Any questions so far? All good. All right. Perfect. Now, the third one, the last one, we called as the iteration or looping. All right. Okay, it's quite similar. It's quite similar with the previous one with the selection. It's quite similar, but with some changes that we need to make. Now, as we said, when we say selection, that means we're gonna use the diamond shape because we need to select something, A or B, all right, based on a decision we made. based on a condition we made, we need to make our selection, A or B. Sorry. Again, for selection, it's because we are having a diamond shape, we have a decision, so we need to make our selection A or B. All right. Now, with the iterational looping, the same thing. We still have a condition, we still have a decision, and we need to make our selection based on A or B, based on true or false. Okay, based on if the condition was true, is it true? If the condition was false, it's false. Now, the third one is called iterational looping. Is the same thing exactly with similar with the previous one selection, but we may need to kind of iteration here. That means we need to add another step. All right. So this step is stand for what? Where's the pen? Where is it? Anyway. Okay, so with the looping, with iterational looping, we need to add we need to add a step. That one will do iteration. All right, so that means I need to repeat certain steps in order to make my decision true or false. This is the whole point of the selection or iteration. Let's have an example. Now, read this one carefully, please. Now, this step is about open employee database. All right. Now, we have the decision here. Have more records. Have more records. This is my decision. This is my question. Have more records. So, to answer this decision could be yes or no, true or false. If it was yes, display employee name, employee crossed salary. If it was no, close employee database, right? Now, what do we mean by this decision have more record? Okay, so when you are dealing with a database, you have open a database. Imagine this database comes with, let's take it in a simple way, have 5 records, 5 records. Now, when you came to the first one, have more records, so you have first, you have read the first line of the database. Each single line is a record. Each single line is an entity. All right. So an entity for that means one employee with all details. So when you read the first line, you are reading the first employee. Is this has more record? Yes, that means there still have four records in the database. So display the employee name, the first one. That's why I just read, okay, and go back to the database. Have more record? Yes, I read the second one, I still have 3. Display the second one, go back to read more records. Third one, still have more records? Yes, I still have 2. Display the third one and go back to your database. I still have one more. Display the fourth record and go back to where? To where? To the database. Okay, have more record? No, I have read the last one. Okay, display the current one, which is what? The fifth one. I just read it, go back to your database. Have more records? No, I have read all the records from the database. Now, in this case, now the decision is what? Is no. All right, so the decision now has been became false. All right, now I will close employee database. So can we see this iteration? Iteration means I need to, if I have to repeat certain steps to change the decision, or I need to stay with one decision for a certain period of time to finalize something. Now, based on this case, I have to stay with this decision, or this decision I need to make it true for what? For the full record until reading all records from the database. Okay, so which process I need to use? I need to use the one with iteration or looping. I can't use the simple one, which is just what we call the selection. All right. Let's take an example about that. Um, okay. Now imagine we have removed this one. All right. We have removed this one. We have used just what we call the selection process. There is no iteration. What will happen here? All right. What will happen here? So you came from the previous step, have more records, yes. Display employee name. Okay, so now I'm in this step. All right, so there is no a process, there is no an arrow that should takes me back to the position. So I'm stuck here. All right, so that means deleting this step, it's a wrong action. Now the second one, keep this one here. All right, keep using this iteration, but instead of put it here. Is that correct? Absolutely, Gil. Yeah, you are absolutely correct. So you will stick here, and there is no more any further actions to exit or to terminate the flowchart or the process. Absolutely correct. Now, now imagine the flowchart is in this way. All right. Imagine the flowchart is in this way. Can we say it's now? Can we say it's correct? Imagine here we don't have such thing. All right, just ignore this one. Ignore it. Okay. So this is the flowchart. Can we say now the flowchart is correct? Can we say this flowchart now is correct? Read the flowchart carefully, please. No, Abdul Aziz. Why it's no Abdul Aziz? So Abdul Aziz said no. You think no. Uh, Yeah, no, I'll send the user to the wrong location. No, no, it's not as takes the user too far back. No, I think I didn't get your answer. Page, it's loose back to open the database when it repeats. Absolutely correct. This is a beautiful answer page. All right, look here. Now, when the decision was yes, I have more records. Now, this process will takes me back where? To the before this step, before this action. This action is what? Open employee database. So that means imagine you have hundreds of, of employees, 100 employee in your database. So every time you are reading the records, you are every time open the database, which is totally wrong. Which is totally wrong. All right. So when you are dealing with a database, you need to read it once. Sorry, you need to open it once, and then the iterations will be inside the database. All right. The iterations will be inside the records, inside the database. You can't open the database every time and close it every time. Open it once, close it once. All right. All the iterations will be inside that database. So for such thing, of course, we can't have this step here. The most correct one, of course, it will be when we put it after opening the database and then before the decision. All right, before the decision or this diamond shape. Now I will repeat or I will iterate all the employee, and then display the message. Okay, well done, guys. Any questions so far, guys? Is all good now? Any question? Something I have to repeat? Something to reconsider again? All good. Okay, perfect. All right. Okay, now let's take this another example. All right, now we have a process. Total mark equals zero, enrollment number equals zero. This is a process or action. Now open subject file. Now we have end of file. This is the same thing. So we have opened the file, the record file. Look here, even initializing variables, we need to make it, or we need to settle everything before any iterations. All right, so we have initialized these two variables equal to zero, and then opened subject for the database. Now end of file, I'm asking end of file. No, I'm still having the first line. All right, I'm just reading the first line or the first record of the first entity. No, now this is means I still have more records, I still have more data. Now find the total mark equal total mark plus student mark. Find the enrollment number plus plus. Okay, this is an increment, and then go back here. Look here, go back. This iteration takes me back to the previous decision. All right, so take me back to the decision and check if this is the end of the file. If this is not the end of file, again, the total mark equal total mark plus the student mark. All right, and then of course go back again, do iterations until reaching the end of the file. All right, so I have reached the end of file. Yes, so close this record subject record file, find the average mark, and then display the average mark. Can you see, guys? So we need to open the database once, we need to close it once. All the iterations will be inside the database itself. All right. Okay, another flowchart. Step, the oval shape, we need to put it as a first step for any process. And then input cumulative cost, input this year cost. All right, and then this year cumulative cost equal this year cost plus per cumulative cost, output this year cumulative cost, and then which is another oval shape. Quite simple, quite straightforward. Okay, so look here, we have used these shapes because both of these are readings or inputs. So we need to use these two shapes. This is a process relating the cumulative cost, this year cost plus per cumulative cost, and then printing output. All right, based on this shape, and then of course using the oval shape to end this process. All right. Case study one flowcharts. Okay, now let's read this question carefully. I will give you a couple of minutes to grab a draft paper. Okay, and try guys, try to find a solution for this one. And of course, we're gonna discuss everything together. The question is create a flowchart for the processes which reads two integers. All right, so I have now two integers, j and k, as inputs. So you need to use to read two integers, j and k. Now j is expected to be less than or equal j is expected to be less than or equal k. Okay, so when you read the two integers, when you read the two values, we are expecting to be j value less than k value. Now the process then calculates the summation of all integers between j and k, and output summation, of course. Now, for example, if the output for J and J are 3 and 9, so if the input, so if you read these two values as J and K, 3 and 9, so then the whole process should calculate the summation for 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8, 9, 42, and print out what? 42. Now, guys, for a couple of minutes, I need you to work on this one and give me your ideas. Please, please, if you're opening the slides, don't move to the next page. Just try between you and yourself, all right? So with yourself, try to figure out how can we draw the flowchart. This is quite important, guys, for the final exam, all right? So I need you to master it. I need you to, you will not face any problem. I have no idea at this moment. Ravina, I have no idea at this moment. I need you to figure out by yourself. All right, so please figure out by yourself. Okay, so imagine you are in the final exam based on the explanation that we did just a few minutes ago. So based on the knowledge, this is the case. You have to read two integers, J and K, all right? J is always or expected to be less than or equal K. Now, if J is less than or equal K, you need to find the summation of all numbers between J and K. It's quite simple. Just take it simply. All right. Please don't move. I trust you guys. Please don't move to the next page. Have a look. Read it carefully. You're gonna have. Now it's what time? Now, 9:53, I will give you 5 minutes. Just read it and do it by yourself, right? And then, of course, we're gonna discuss the answer together. Please, guys, just work on it. Sorry, guys. Yes, of course. We did miss many things actually. So I would like to ask you just to review the lecture, the recording of this lecture when I post it on Alumni Studio or tomorrow. I will post the recording, so please review everything because this lecture is quite important for the assignment of final exam. Okay, okay, guys, are we done? Okay, okay, well done, guys. Input J. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Yeah, yeah. It's not easy just to draw. Okay, yeah, well done. Ali, display sum or and no, we can't say that. Display sum is something and end of the process something else. So you can't put them as one process or one step. Okay, display sum is comes with a different shape, and the end of this process it comes with the oval shape, so it's totally different. So no need to put them the same. Okay, guys. So overall, perfect. I think you got the idea what I can see from your solutions. So let's have a look. Let's have a look at the solution, guys. All right. So as we said, the, the idea of this question is that we need to read two integers, j and k, but for two integers and check if j less than k. Ask input numbers again and let's continue count and send. Not for j when j equal k, when j greater than k. Okay, well done. Okay, guys. Okay, guys, just have a look here, please. All right. So as we said, the whole idea is what to read two integers, right? J and k. Okay, to read and j and k. But before that, what do we have here? This is the start point. The start point it's so important. This one, if you didn't mention start point, you're gonna lose marks. All right. This one, the start point and the end point, they are quite important using the oval shape. All right, represent the start of the process and the end of a process. All right. After the start, of course, we need to read two variables or two integers, j and k. All right. At the same time, we need to initialize a summation. Why we need to initialize this variable? Because the whole idea is to find the summation between these two numbers between j and k. So I need to have a summation variable. All right. Now look here. This is my decision. All right. Now the decision is while j less than or equal k, find the summation of all values between j and k. And so will be my decision. Will be my condition. All right. The condition is if j less than or equal k, keep reading, keep find the summation of all the values between j and k. Now, yes, find the summation of what? Summation is 0 plus j, the value of j, and then I can increment j by 1, j equal 1, and then go back to where to the decision to check if j is still less than or equal k. Alright, if it's still less, that means take the next number. Summation equal j, summation plus j, increment j, go back to your decision. J equal, it's still checking if j is still or less than or equal k. Yes. find the summation. Now, when j became greater than k, this is as I mentioned to you, Pravina. So this is my decision when my condition became false. All right. So before that, all my conditions, all my what we call the conditions or the decision was true. That means my condition is true. J less than or equal k. But the condition is when my condition became false. Now I will terminate this process. When the j became greater than k or the output of the decision became false, no, alright, output the sum. Output the summation. Yeah, it's yes, exactly. So this is what we call the iteration loop. Yeah, this is what we call the iteration loop. Okay, so now we are not using a selection process by itself. We are not using a selection process by itself. Here we are using iteration loop. All right. Why? Because we need to keep checking j less than or equal k every time, because we need to increment k every sorry we need to increment j every time, and at the same time we need to check if it's still less than or equal k when this decision sorry when this decision is true. We need to find the summation of all values between j and k. Okay, when the decision became false, all right, go and terminate this process and just um, print out the value sorry uh, so print out summation value, okay, and then and represent the end of this process or this flowchart. Okay, now this is exactly the same thing as you're gonna have in your final exam, right? In terms of the flowchart or the same. Of course, not the same question, but same process. So you're gonna have this kind of such question based on variables, based on summation. So you need to read it carefully and then translate the whole the case study into a flowchart. Okay, all right. Any questions so far, guys? All good? Something not clear? Is everything clear, guys? Please let me know. Please let me, if you have any question, let me know. All clear, Michelle? Okay, well done. Okay, great. Happy to have that. Okay, guys, let's move on. Okay, case study two. This is another case study. All right, guys. So I will leave this one on you. This is exactly the same thing with just different idea. So it start the same thing. Read J and K, but here we can just put the two decisions we have in this case study. The first one, if J was greater than K or wasn't equal less or equal k. Now directly we need to terminate the whole process. Okay, so that means now entered j greater than k from the first time, so that means we terminate everything from the first thing. That means this is the decision, terminate everything. Can you see, guys? Now if it was yes, exact the same process with the previous one. Can you see that the same thing, which is guys, do you hear me?
Yeah.
I think I lost the connection for a while. Okay, guys, so I was talking about the case study two, which is quite similar. It's quite similar to the previous one, but it comes with two conditions. Now, if we have the jn less than or equal k from the beginning, we can just terminate it directly. Or else, find the summation find the summation between the values, all values between j and k. Now, if it was no, okay, print out the summation and go back to read again. Alright? So the whole idea of this flowchart is what is always keep finding the summation between two values j and k unless j is less than or equal k. But when you type j greater than k will terminate the process. For example, we typed 3 by 9. Alright, 3, j equal 3, k equal 9. So the condition is j less than k, right? So final summation is what? 42. 42. Till here, okay, so j became, after the iterations, j became 10, right? Now became 10, that means no, j is greater than k now. Terminate no, out the sum, then we'll go back to where? To this input process to ask you again to input two values. If you typed again another 4 and 9, the same thing, j less than k, yes, find the summation. Alright, find yes or no, find yes or no, find the summation j equal j plus 1, go back again to read. When it will end or terminate the whole process, when you type j greater than k. Alright, look here, compared to the previous one, this process will end after first iteration. Sorry, after first, what we call the first iteration, when you've done all the iterations, once you got false from your decision, it will end or terminate the whole process. But with this question, the whole process will end when you type j greater than k. If you just keep typing j less than k, this will comes out. Exactly. So as long as you enter j less than k, the process or the flowchart will still working. Find the summation between j and k. Once you type j greater than k, terminate the process. Exactly. Okay. Now the previous one, once you find the summation of the first two values, okay, the first two values, you find the summation. Now j became greater than k, will run or will terminate the process and output. That's it. Okay. Okay. So it's quite similar with just some differences. Okay. Okay, guys. Any question about the flowchart? Is it clear? Something I need to repeat again? All good? Okay. Okay, guys. So as you can see, the data flow, the flow chart, and the one that we're gonna talk about now is data dictionary. Is more about, is about the data itself. We are dealing with the data. So the flow chart is about describing the process. The data dictionary now we will talk about. It's about the formats and describing the format of the data. While the previous lecture, when we talked about the data flow diagram, we were talking about the information system itself. Is more about describing the information system. Okay, now the data dictionary. The data dictionary. Why we need to have a data dictionary? Now, if we look at this question, what is order details and what are included it? All right. So the order detail here, it's a flow in. It's a flow in data where into process to create invoice came from warehouse. Okay. So the data dictionary now describes the data. Okay. Format and meaning of each data elements and structure. A data flow is a data element or collection of structured data elements. Okay. So data dictionary, it's been used to have or to know the structure of your data. Okay, the structure of your data. Okay, now I will give you example. If I ask you about um, Latrobe University address, okay, let's Google it. Uh, Latrobe, it's Hamilton, so I think it's Kingsbury. Latrobe University. Okay, so the address of Latrobe University is Plenty Road, Kingsbury, Bandura, Vic 30886, right? Okay, so this is the what we call the address for that road. Okay, so it's Plenty Road. Sorry. So the address is Plenty Road, Kings Plenty Road, Kingsbury, Bandura, Vic 3086, Melbourne. Right? Now, if I ask you what is the structure of this address, the structure of okay, so the structure of this address is what? Starting but by mentioning the name or the address, so the street name, Plenty Road, okay, or and Kingsbury, right? And then by what? By the suburb name, which is Bandura, and followed by what? By state name, which is Vic, followed by what? By the postcode, which is 3086, followed by what? The the um, the state, what we call them, city, Melbourne, then the country name, lastly the country name Australia, right? So this is the structure of any address. Now, of course, we are talking about university. We are missing, for example, the street number. We can have it as well. So this is the structure of any address. Okay. Now, if I told you what are the elements of this structure, the elements, not the whole address is a structure by itself. It's a data structure. A data structure comes with the elements. The elements of this address is what? The first one is the street name, Plenty Road and Kingsbury. The second element is what? Is the suburb name, which is Bandura. The third element is what? The state name, which is Big. The fourth one is the postcode, which is 3086, and so on. All right. So these are represent the elements. We will know later what do we mean by elements, what do we mean by data structure. But the whole idea is I need to know the format of my data. All right. A data flow diagram shows flows of data used in a system, but supporting documentation is required to explain and document details of the flows. Now, this supporting documentation is known as system dictionary or data dictionary. Any analyst uses the data dictionary to collect, to document, to organize specific facts about the system. All right. Now, for each entry in the data dictionary, the detail in a data structure and data elements should be included. So we have two terms, guys, keep in mind. The first one we call a data structure. The second one we call a data element. A data element, also called a data item or data field, represent single value of certain type. A data element is the smallest piece of data that has a meaning. This is so important. A data element, this is the smallest piece of data. Okay, for instance, the pay rate, the postcode, family name, a data element. Okay, each one is what is a data element. Let's have another example. Student name, this is a structure by itself, right? A student name. It comes with three or four elements, or four, let's say three data elements. The first one is what? The first name. The second element is what? Is the second name or the middle name, all right? The last one is what? Is the family name or the surname. All right. So these are we call them as each one is a data element by itself. Why it's data elements? Because it's the smallest piece of data. We cannot break it down into another element. So the first name, can we break it down into another elements? No. This is the smallest piece of data that has a meaning. But when I say a student name, can we break down this one, a student name, into a data elements? Yes, we can. Why? Because we have a first name, we have a middle name, we have a surname. All right. So as we said, we have two terms, the data structure and the data element. The data structure, when we have a full name or a data structure that we need, we can break it down into data elements. Data elements, it's a piece of data that has a meaning. It came from a data structure. We can have examples about each. A data structure contains a collection of data elements. As we said, name is a student name is a data structure by itself. So when we break down that data structure into first name, middle name, surname, so it's a collection of data elements structured in a certain way. A data structure is the composition of a set of element. It can appear as data flows on data flow diagram. For example, home address. Home address is a data structure. Why? Because I can break it down into data elements. Again, the home address, it consists of what? Street number, it comes with the street name, it comes with the state, it comes with the postcode, it comes with the country. Each one of these, each one, street number, street name, street, state, postcode, and country, is what? Is a data element by itself. Why it's a data element? Because it's the smallest piece of data that has meaning. Now, when we say street number, can we break down this one into another data element? No, it's just street number. When we say um, fourth of 4 Plant Road. No, it means 4 Plant Road. Okay, this is the address. No, this street number is 4 Plant Road is the street name. Okay, so we cannot break it down into another data elements. So again, I'm repeating that we have two main terms, the data structure and the data elements. Data structure is a collection of what? Is a collection of data elements. All right. So when we have a data structure, that means that data structure we can break it down into data elements. Those data elements that came from this data structure represent the smallest piece of information or smallest piece of data that has a meaning. Okay, we can have examples about that. Now, look at this one. Assume you have a data flow diagram. Okay. Now, tutorial list as a data flow of a subject administration system. Okay, it comes with a tutorial list. It comes with this information: the subject code, the subject name, the tutorial list, the time, the address, the time, Wednesday, Thursday, the tutor name, and of course, first name and last name of students. Okay, so this one represents a data dictionary because I'm having the data structure as well. A set of data elements can be composed in three ways to form a data structure. Okay, the three ways are a sequence, selection. Those are the same thing as we talked with the flowchart. The three types of controls: the sequence, selection, and iteration. When we say a data elements are composed one after another in a sequential order, we call it as a sequence. Exactly with the employee name or a student name or names in general, because names, it comes with the first name, it comes with the middle name, it comes with the last name. Okay, all right. right? So each one is an element by itself. So because they are in sequence, so we call this process or this control actually sequential. Now, plus this, when we need to mention plus links the data elements of data structure together to form a data structure. Guys, look here. When we put this plus, all right, so between the data elements, all right, together to form what? To form the data structure of what? Of the employee name. So now, as we said, the data structure, can we break it down into data elements? Each data element is a piece of data, has a meaning. We cannot break it down anymore. But when we put those data elements together, what we will get? The data structure, which is employee name or address. All right. In terms of selection, the structure can be one of the elements. Daily assignment. Okay, so when we have RTO date or, and okay, so this represent means or, okay, or work date and work task. Okay, so when we have this kind of brackets, indicate a selection and the choice separated by a vertical bar. Okay, so it could be the first one or the second one. When we have iteration, so this structure is the iteration of the data elements. All right. So when we put, when we put the elements in this type of brackets, that means we have iterations. All right. Now, based on that, we have two values: this minimum and the maximum. So this brackets indicates an iteration where with the optional minimum and maximum values. So we'll start from 28, 21 with 29, 30, 31 because this is minimum value and this is maximum value because it's daily task. Okay. All right. Now, when we describing the data dictionary or data structure, in the data dictionary, a data structure is normally described by the following information. Name of the structure, name of the data flow, which is the same thing. When we talked about the data flow diagram, the arrow represent the data move in and move out between the processes or between the external entities. So the name of that data or represent the name of the data. The same thing here, it represents the name of the structure. The content, which is the data elements included inside the data structure. Description of the structure. The origin in the process this data flow or this came from. Okay, destination where this data flow is going, the volume and the frequency, how the frequency we are the frequency of this data. Now documenting this data structure. Now, as we said, the tutorial list. This is the data flowing from generate list process. It's going to tutorial external entity. Now, if we want to document this data structure, data flow name, tutorial list. Alternate name, there's none. Abbreviation, none. The structure, what is the structure of this one? The structure of the tutorial list, it comes with what? Tutorial list heading, plus tutorial details, plus students. Can you see the students? I put them in this bracket. Why? Because I have more than one student. So that means I will have iterations. So I will put them in this brackets, type of brackets. Description, a listing for tutorials to record attendance. Origin process 2, where this data flow came from. Destination, where this data going. So it's coming from generate list. Process 2 going to tutors, the external entity. Volume and frequency, 10 listing produced twice a year. All right. Okay. I will take example that you're gonna use exactly in your final exam or assignment as well. A data structure may contains another structure. Okay. In the data dictionary, a data structure are showing in italics and data elements in bold. This is how can we differentiate between a data structure and the data elements. Now, Look, based on this data structure, the whole thing, it's a tutorial list, right? Is a data flow in or flow out between from process to external entities. If I want to describe this data structure, I would say the first thing, tutorial list is a data structure by itself. Why? Because this one it comes with with another data structures. We can break it down later. Now, the tutorial list is a data structure by itself. It comes with what? Tutorial list heading. So all the details here we call them as tutorial list heading plus tutorial details plus students. Okay, look here, the practice of students means we have more than one students. We put them in iteration. Okay, so each one of those is a data structure by itself. All right, so this is the first one. The second one is what? Tutorial list heading. Tutorial list heading is a data structure by itself, right? So what are the elements inside tutorial list heading? Are subject codes and subject name. Can you see now, subject code and the subject name are in bold, while data structure is in italic. So this is how can we differentiate between the data structure and the data elements. You're gonna do the same thing in your final exam or assignment. When we say a tutorial, when you are mentioning or when you are saying this is a data structure, you need to put it in italic format. When you say this is an element, a data element, you need to put it where as in bold shape or in a bold format. Okay, so tutorial list heading, it comes with what? Look here, first one. It comes with a subject code. This is the subject, the CSE1IS for information system. Can we break down this code into more details, into other data elements? No. Okay, so this is the we call the data elements. This is the last piece that that has a meaning. We cannot break it down further to another data elements. Okay, what else? It comes with the data elements, the what we call the subject name information system. All right, so this is the first structure. Okay, this is the first structure. The second structure we call the tutorial details. It comes with what? Tutorial group plus one tutorial time, tutorial room, two. This is the minimum value. This is the maximum value. Okay, plus tutorial tutor name. So now, if you look at the other details, tutorial group as a tutorial group in a bold. So this is a data element. We cannot break it down into another data elements. Okay. Now 1 to 2 day to time and room. So this is the time when we are talking about the tutorial time and room, right? And now lastly, look here, tutorial name. Tutorial name. So all these details are what represent the tutorial details. Last thing, the student. The student is what? First name, last name. From the record is a first name and last name. Guys, the whole idea of this one is about breaking down. The whole idea is what? Breaking that down. The first step is we need to know how many data structures do we have, how many data structures do we have, and now we need to identify these data structures in italic format. And now we take each data structure by itself and break it down into data elements. The same thing here. Now we have identified all the data structure as a first step, tutorial list heading, tutorial details, and the students, and then of course we break everyone into data elements. Right? Let's take have another example. I think we just have this one. Okay, that's fine. But we will move on this one again. Okay, now as we said before, the tutorial list, this is the data structure in general, the whole thing, all right? How many data structures inside this data structure? We're gonna have three. The first one is a tutorial list heading, tutorial list heading. All right. The second one is what we call the tutorial details in terms of the group, time, room, and tutor. And the last one, it represents the students. How many students do we have? Now, when we talk about the first one, the tutorial list, the tutorial list heading, it comes with two data elements. When we talk about the tutorial details, it comes with one element by itself plus iteration plus tutorial name. This is the last element. When we talk about students, it comes with the first name and the last name as well. Okay, guys, any questions so far about this one? Data dictionary, guys. Anything not anything not clear? Anything I need to repeat it again? Guys, all good? Okay, perfect. Okay, so tutorial list is the table itself. Tutorial list word. Do you mean tutorial list? This one is the table. It's exactly, absolutely correct. Look here. Tutorial list represents the data flowing or the data structure itself for the whole thing. Now we took when we say tutorial list represent the whole table. All right, represent the whole table. And where it came from, look here. It's the same thing, tutorial list. So why the whole, okay, I'll repeat again the main point. Why I need to have a data dictionary because I need to know the details of each data, the structure of the data. Now, tutorial list, as we said, is it flowing in from process to flowing out to tutorial external entity. So I need to know the structure of this data, right? So I need to know the structure of this one. All right. So I will break down this one into data structures. Okay. So this table represents the whole data by itself. Okay. Now I will break down this table into data structures. How many data structures do we have here? The first one represent the tutorial list heading, which is it comes with what? Subject code. But let's just let me with the pen. I think it will be easier. All right. Now look here. The smallest one. All right. Now look here. The tutorial is, as we said, represent the whole table. All right. Now when I say the tutorial list heading, all right, it represents this one only. Okay. It comes with what? It comes with subject code, subject code only, and the information, the subject name. Okay, so each one is a data element because it's a piece of data that has a meaning by itself. Okay, so if I say the information system, can I break it into another data elements? No, this is the end. I can't break it down further. Okay, so this is the present what the data elements for what? For tutorial list heading. All right. Now this is the first data structure in this tutorial list. It's tutorial details. All right. Tutorial details. It comes from where? From the details here. So we will take from this data flow. It comes with the group number. It comes with the time, Wednesday, no time, and the room number. Look, this is the time. Wednesday 9 a.m. or p.m. And this is comes with what B209. This is the room number. Thursday as well. And the last thing is the tutor name. So the data elements of tutorial details, it comes with the three: group, the time, tutorial name, tutor name. Okay. Now look here. Why did we say tutorial time in two brackets when iteration brackets 1 to 2? Because look how many times do we have the time for this subject: Wednesday 9 a.m. room B209. This is one. The second one Thursday 9 the same time, 9 p.m. Room B209. So we have two rooms, two times, right? So that means I need to put it actually in this brackets with mentioning minimum value and the maximum value, which is 1 and 2. Now, if the report, just imagine this report has mentioned just one time, which is only Wednesday, there is no Thursday. There is no Thursday here. What changes you will do here? You will no need to mention one, no need to mention two, so just mention, no need to mention this bracket as well. You're gonna just say just the time and the tutorial room. Can you see the difference now? Now the last thing is the student. Let's have another color. Okay, so the last one is what is the students. Now the students, we put them in these brackets alterations. Why? Because I have more than one student. Okay, how many students I have? Maybe 10, maybe 20, maybe 100. Okay, so I have, based on the structure, it comes with what? First name and the last name. First name and the last name as well. So each one is a data element by itself. It's a data element by itself. Okay, guys, is that clear?
Yes.
Is clear? Nothing? Okay. Okay, so what is a number between tutor time? Okay, this is a number, as we said, because you have two times. Okay, I will erase this one. Okay, can I ask you a question, Lee? Can I ask you a question? How many times do you have here? So this lecture, okay, this lecture. What are the time of this lecture? Can I ask you, please? How many times do we have here? Lee, can you answer this question, please? We have two exactly. The first one, Wednesday, 9 a.m., room B2, B209. The second one, Thursday, right? So that means more than one. That means I will have iteration, the first one and the second one, right? There's a looping two times. First time, the second time. So I will use these brackets, right? And with minimum value and the maximum value. The minimum value is 1, the maximum value is 2 because 2 times. Imagine you have another time here. This subject comes with Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So I gonna have 1, the maximum time will be 3, right? Because 3 iterations. Now, erase all of these details. Now imagine there's no Wednesday, sorry, there's no Thursday. Okay, imagine there is no Thursday. How many time do we have now for the subject? Lee, how many times do we have now?
One.
Just one, right? Exactly. So how can we change these elements? It will be what, like plus? Can I write plus? Okay. Text. Okay, I think it's better. Okay, so will be plus, right? Okay, it will comes with what? It comes with tutor time. Just if I can copy this one. No, we can't. Okay, plus it will comes tut time plus tut score room only. Okay, plus tutor tutor name. Can you see now, Lee? So now it depends on how many times do we have. If we have one, just mention name by itself. Do we have two or three or four or five? Put them in iterations because this is in a database and information system will be iterated by itself. Is that clearly now? Okay, perfect. Guys, any further questions about this one? All good? All right, so let's move on. Okay, so this is the same thing. Tutorial list heading, subject, course, subject name. Data elements can be represented in tabular form and to avoid complexity, restrict entries to name, type, length. For example, the student ID comes with 8 digits, acceptable values with 999 from digits 1 to 9. First name, 25 characters, alphabetic only, and so on. So this is actually when you are designing your database, as we said, using the input mask or the validation rules, the data types and the accepted values, all things that will be through a database as well. Data dictionary reports an alphabetized list of all data structures and data elements by name. A report describing each data structure and data elements can indicating the user or department that's responsible for data entry, updating, or deletion. End of lecture. So guys, just to let you know, by the data dictionary, this will be the same thing here, the same examples, similar examples, for your example, for your assignments or final exam. So you can have a scenario, you're gonna have a data dictionary or a data node. From that, you cannot just do the same thing here. Okay, so you will break down that structure into how many these data structures are available, and then you will take a data structure one by one and break down data structure into data elements. That's it. Okay. Okay, guys, so this is the end of this lecture. So before ending this, any questions so far, guys? Any question regarding the flow chart, uh, regarding the flow chart, the data dictionary? If we got time today after lecture, can we quickly go through the assignment one? Actually, because I still have one thing regarding the lecture, we kind of um, review questions we need to go through together. Of course, if we're gonna have time, we're gonna go through the assignment. All right. Okay, now we will go kind of test one analysis, guys. It's kind of quite simple one. Okay, it's quite simple one. It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. So it's quite simple. I'm just trying to see your notes about what we talked about from lecture one. Okay. All right. Which is the question one, guys? Please, if you can talk through the mic, or if you can just type your answers. All right. So please don't look at the answers. Perfect. Why it's A? So why it's A, which is not a transaction processing system? Why it's A? Can someone tell why it's not B calls? Can we say calls is it's not a transaction processing system? Beautiful. Well done, guys. Happy to hear that. Okay, which is not a component of an information system. Well done. Well done. Happy to hear that. Well done, guys. Perfect. Okay. Of course, C planning is not a component. Please, of course, it's not a component of an information system, right? But it's a component, or it's part of what? Can someone tell me? The planning. It's not a component of an information system, but it's a part or a component of something. Can someone tell me planning? It's a part of what? We talked about it, I think. Yes, well done. Student development life cycle. Well done. Okay. All right. Well done, Ali. Yeah, well done. System development life cycle. So, which is an information system? Which is an information system? Well done. Perfect. Of course. Which is a typical example of a system requirement input category. D. Well done. Okay, well then, guys. Perfect. Just to tell you these questions from previous final exam. All right, can you see? So quite simple, guys. If you just as you are you doing now, you are doing great job. Just following with the lecture, read the lecture, review the lecture week by week. You will be in safe side. Believe me. These questions from the final exam. Okay. So as you can see now, you are quite easily can answer all the questions. So please review the lecture week by week, review the lab notes, and if you have a question, please don't hesitate to send me an email, all right? Any question regarding the lecture, regarding anything else, drop me an email anytime. I will do my best to reply to your request, reply to your email as soon as possible. And this is one thing. The second thing, I didn't meet any of you, just few students during the last consultation times. I think because I was expecting that there was no kind of questions about the subject till this moment. Hopefully, so by next Friday, please, guys, we're gonna have a consultation about the same time, 9 to 12. So please read the assignment carefully, okay? Because this is part of your evaluation of your final mark. So read the assignment carefully, write down all the questions. These questions plus come to the consultation time. Let's discuss the questions together, and I will make everything easy to you. All right, I'll try to break down to make the difficult easier to you. So please don't hesitate to send me emails to attend the consultation times. This is one thing. So for the last 10 minutes, okay, so for the last 10 minutes, I will go through just with the assignment. Okay, so I know it's not enough, but I will go just um, describe details, some details. All right, guys, please. Do you hear me clearly, right? All good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you see now, guys? Do you see the okay. Okay, guys. Okay, can you see the now, right? Can you see the assignments?
Yes.
Okay, great. So, guys, as we said, it's clear. The assignment, just the first point is that the due date of the assignment is Monday, 7th of September 2020. So it's week 8. Okay. All right. So the second main point is that submitted electronic copy of your assignment through the LMS. The submission link will be set up 5 days before the submission is due. Keep in mind, guys, the submission after the deadline, you will 5 percentage of the final assignment mark per day. Okay. No assignment is accepted after 4 days delay. Okay, so first of all, this is a problem description. Your task is what to read this one carefully. Try to, it's some background and describing the problem. Try to fully understand the problem. At the same time, after initial appendix one, it's so important to have a look at the appendix one, which is at the end. Okay, this is appending ones. Just read this one carefully. Okay. Once you're done with that, all right, come here to the part one, the system planning. Okay, so your task is with the first one. What information will you need to begin the preliminary investigation? Which techniques will you use to gather this information? Okay, it's quite simple, guys. The most important thing, don't make it difficult on you. Take it in a simple way. The question is quite straightforward, okay, quite simple from the lecture notes. Okay, read the question carefully and please answer carefully. This is task one. Task two, okay, from appendix two. Now I gave you prepare a context diagram, okay, for the new system with the following external entities. These four following external entities, you will use them to build or to draw your context diagram. Keep in mind what are the features or the characteristics of the context diagram. All right, and of course you will use these external entities, the process, and of course you will use them to draw the data flowing and the flow outs between those entities and the process using what appendix to just describe everything. Once you're done with that, prepare a diagram zero. Okay, diagram zero. So you should have at least these processes. So we gave you the process as well. So you should have at least those. Now once you're done with that, create a decision table and its associated decision tree. This is, we didn't talk about this one yet. That will be next week or week after. So don't consider this one as well now. Okay, so because we didn't explain this one yet. Once we're done with that, you're gonna work on part two, which is about the cost analysis. It's quite simple, quite straightforward. Okay, so please read this one carefully. Okay, read this one carefully. I think it's quite simple, quite straightforward, right? Any question, guys?
No, thank you.
All good, guys. So please wish you all the best and okay, all good. Okay, great. So guys, wish you all the best, please, and don't forget to the consultation. Thank you, girls. So please, thank you, Ali. So please review the lecture. I will post the recording by today or tomorrow, and then review the assignments, review the lectures. Please don't miss the consultation time next Friday, 9 to 12. Okay. Thank you, guys. Take care. See you next time.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.